We have approved the minutes of the 2020 meeting and those were filed. I believe we don't need a vote on that, do we?
No.
Okay. And we need some nominees from this group to review and approve the minutes for submission to the board. Would anyone like to volunteer to review the minutes? Anyone? Shall I nominate?
I
Just
will.
me.
I will, Sandy.
Okay, Cheryl, and anyone? Peg just sent something in. So Cheryl Barnes and Peg Prendergast.
And Margie was raising her hand, I think.
We can have three. It's okay.
And so was Donna Hogue.
No, I was just going to say Peg was doing it.
Oh.
Okay, well, great. So let's see, where are we in the agenda? It's Rita, treasurer's report, Rita.
Okay, so I sent, everything got sent out. I'm not sure that everybody saw it, but hopefully you were able to scroll through at least the our financial positions and what we've done over the course of the year. So I'm going to take questions on any of that from anybody, and then we'll move into the budget. So any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
You want to give a 2-minute highlights reel?
Sure, I can give a 2-minute highlight of what we did and where we are. So I have a committee that works with me that is very diligent, and I'm going to give a shout out for 2 people, especially on this committee. Peg Pendergrast, who religiously, thank God, checks our post office box and deposits all our checks and sends me any important information because it's down in Kansas City and I'm up in Platte County. And so she does that twice a week, thank goodness. And then also Diane Spencer, who keeps me honest by reconciling all our PayPal and our regular bank account every month for me before I send out our financial position documents to the board for the board meeting. So those 2 people certainly are helping us a lot. I'd also like to thank Carolyn Arnold for leading our financials in such a wonderful situation for me when I took over last summer. And also to let you know that we did have our review. Greg Gehrig, our accountant, was very happy with our financial position, so that was good. We also did update our financial policies and procedures, the committee itself, and presented them to the board last fall, and they approved them. So they're up on our website for anybody to review as well. So all of our documents, including all of our financials that are presented to the board every month, are up on our website for our members to look at if they would like to. So and then the only other thing that I would like to point out in our financial position is that we actually are in a very good position, and our budget does not really show that, but our balance sheet certainly does. The budget is just a 1-year synopsis. It doesn't take into account the monies that we have stored away in some of our other accounts, such as our investment accounts and our CDs. So if you really want to know about that, you have to look at the balance sheet, which I sent out also, and I can put up on here if anybody wants to, but we actually have quite a healthy reserve. So we're good in that regard. Not that we want to have to rely on it, but we definitely like to know that it's there. The other major thing that I did this year, and you can see that when you look at the budget, is that we have started with each membership amount that comes in. I have taken the state portion and the national portion out of that deposit and put it in a liability account. So when you look at our financials and our budget for the year, that is not in there. Those amounts are not in there. which is why our budget is so much lower. You can see it, again, you can see that on the balance sheet, what our liability amounts are that we've collected so far for the year. And then when we pay the state and national in August, that money will come out of that liability account. It will not, so you will never see it on a regular financials of our profit and loss or of our budget. You will only see the portion that comes directly to us. And lastly, I would like to thank everybody who pays a little bit over the $70 when they do their membership, because that's clearly a donation to us, and we really like those little pieces, so, or big pieces, whatever they may be. So that's kind of where we are as far as our financials are concerned.
Okay,
Questions?
Well, can I just make a comment that Rita's doing a great job, in the fact that we have some money in investment is because people have included us in their will. And so if you have a financial plan, you can include the league in your will.
okay. Well, Rita, kudos, really. You and your committee are really got us in a ever better position. That leads directly then to the presentation of the 2021-2022 budget for review and approval by this group.
Sandy, could I ask one question before we move on to that?
Absolutely.
This is Elizabeth Dar. Rita, thank you for your work. It's not easy, I know. Could you give us an idea of what our expenses regarding Zoom have been this year?
Yes, I can. Let me just see if I can bring that up quickly. I'm gonna say, so administration,
So Rita,
our Zoom is gonna be about $150 a year. And it's not something that we want to eliminate. My suggestion to the board was that we continue to Zoom our meetings even when we start meeting in person again, because I think we can incorporate both. And that way, anybody who is either driving long distance, has a challenge in getting to our meetings, or if the weather is a little bit off, we can still hold our meetings and they can still participate. So we're going to start pushing that into a, pushing that price is included in the budget. And it's about $150 because we don't have generally more than 100 people attending our meeting. If we get up to over 100, that price will increase, but not substantially. And so we clearly have the money to dip into if we have to do that, although it's not included in the budget.
Elizabeth, because we bought Zoom through TechSoup and got a little bit of a discount, it's $140 a year for just standard Zoom. But every time we do webinars, we have to pay $20 a month, and we've done that 3 times for the forums. And whenever there's an election, but that's only $20 for those months that we have forums. So we've probably spent $200 total, including the forums, over the last year.
And I think we will keep Zoom for committee meetings as well.
Yes, definitely. So, and that's included in that price. So it's not an expensive way to have meetings. And certainly, I've been tracking that in QuickBooks, so we can always pull that out. There are a number of different program committees use this. A lot of the committees use it themselves, plus our league uses it. So it's really an administrative cost as far as I'm concerned.
I have a question. Is the league something that we can put our QMDs, our qualified minimum distributions from 401ks towards? Does anyone know?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'd say yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, one sec. Who can you identify yourself? Who asked that
Yeah,
question?
Mary.
Mary Kingsley.
I would say yes off the top of my head, but we're certainly a 501c3 corporation. And I can, if you want to connect with your financial advisor on that topic, I'm happy to send you any of the documentation you need to make sure that's done.
Okay,
And I know that we do it for the church, so it is an option.
okay. Well, I just want everyone to be aware that that is something that you can do with your 401ks, and then it's tax exempt when you give it directly to a 501c3 organization.
Good idea.
Great suggestion.
There you go.
Okay, Rita, budget.
So, yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget for fiscal year 2022, which runs from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022.
As a point of order, would anybody like to see that displayed on screen and scroll through it a little bit or not? I'm seeing some no's.
I don't think we need it because Rita had sent it out earlier, and I think she's pretty much summarized what's going on and how she's doing the accounting. And I think the pertinent questions have been asked. So I move that we accept the budget.
Is there a second?
Second,
Or moved and Elizabeth seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, put your hand up. Any opposed? Motion carries. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to let you know, I will also put this up on the website. So now that it's been accepted, it'll go up on the website for anybody to look at. And if you have any questions, certainly you can contact me in any form. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rita. On the agenda normally is some reference to the bylaws, and during the past year we have had no changes proposed, so there is nothing to discuss there at this point, unless any members have questions or concerns or a desire for change in the bylaws. I bet nobody's read those in a while. I have before this meeting. So special reports. We sometimes would go through these in meetings, but I think we've covered everybody with the extensive and glowing kinds of reports that were produced by the committee chairs and the e-voters that were sent out. Is there anything anybody wants to ask about those reports or comment on them? Hearing none, then let's move to the next item, which would be programs and positions. So one of the things we're supposed to do is take action to endorse our current positions. And I think at this point, we do not have anything to endorse. Am I right in saying that?
Well, we need to have a vote to retain all of our current positions.
So you're absolutely right. Thank you, Donna. So I have a PowerPoint here that has all that stuff. Does anybody really want to see that? I'm happy to show it. Then,
I think we've just gone over those in January. I think you've sent a link in the report.
Yep.
Most of us know it. We're proudly added our TIF and housing new positions. And I think we just want to accept and keep everything we have.
does that sound like a motion from you, Donna?
I sure can make a motion that we maintain all of our current positions on the local level.
I second that.
Laura seconds. Any discussion? All in favor with the wave of the hand, jazz hands if you like. Any opposed? Somehow I don't think so. So those are accepted. Moving to the next thing is, I made reference to the fact that Alice and her group will be presenting or looking for membership approval for the Missouri paid leave study that they have at this stage. Alice, would you want to give a little where we are with that, just as a preview of coming attractions?
Yeah, just briefly, we've finished our first phase. We've gathered information and we've put out requests to a number of foundations to help fund or do the research for Missouri specific. While we've been doing that, JWJ has been focused on primarily one of the 4 models that we're looking at. And with Biden's plan, there is considerable interest in that one as well. So we're at a point of, and we have one more meeting in the forum that we are now, and looking at, are we going to continue to seek more research Missouri specific, or continue to endorse the concept, however it may shake out at the state or federal level. So we have some discussion to further our next step. But at this point, we have the data, and we know what we need, and we have considerable 17 pages of information. So after our June meeting, we can kind of either finalize step 1 and go forward, or finalize our step with a position to take forward.
Thank you, Alice. Any questions about paid leave? Okay, well then, the last item under this heading is, are there any proposed studies that we should undertake from you all? Anything that you'd like to see taken up?
Sandy, do we need to go back and do an official vote that we are sponsoring the paid leave study?
Well, I think we were going to do that at a membership meeting. We could do it here. I don't know. There was a little bit of a discussion about that in a paid leave committee meeting, and I think Peg and Alice felt like maybe we should take that up in a future meeting. We're not running out of time here, so I'm open.
I don't think I don't think it's appropriate, although I would love it, and I'm sure Alice would too. I don't think it's appropriate because people haven't seen the final language that we've come out with regarding our position statement. And so that's what Alice said, is that the group is getting together in June to finalize what we believe our statement is, that we would be asking approval for our position so that we could move forward, Sandy. We felt we had such a wonderful meeting last month. The breakout sessions provided additional information. And I think people are, from at least all of the comments that we got from the breakout sessions, we felt very positive. But I don't think we should, and maybe that's just my long-term league saying, is that I don't think it's appropriate to just assume that the membership wants to agree on a statement that they haven't seen the final wording on yet. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I was saying not vote on our position, but just vote approval for that study, because I think when we approved it last year, it was for living wage. And so it's nowhere in our records that we're doing a study on paid leave.
Oh, but it is, Donna.
Okay.
We went to the board to change that, or I shouldn't say to change it, but to move forward with that. So I think we already have the board approval to move forward with a paid leave.
But do you think we need the membership at annual meetings approval for the study?
No, I don't think so, because we've been doing that work for the last year.
Well, I know you have. I just was wanting it to be in the record. It's official. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
And I would just add a follow-up to Peg. All of those comments in the breakout sessions are being collated by Allie, and we'll look at if that creates some future workload for another committee or a continuation of this committee with new members. But we had 4 pages of single space comments from you all, and that was terrific. And I think the statement will be general rather than model A or model B or model C. So do know that we're not going to narrow in on one as we initially thought we would.
Yeah, I think Alice has been very steadfast in that regard, and it's even taken on more relevance given the multiple areas where paid leave is being discussed in all its different forms. So for us to zero in on something right now, I think would be premature until we see how the dust settles. Okay, so no new studies. We're going to move on then to the nominating committee report. Rita, you have the floor again.
I do. Okay. So I would like to first, this is Sandy's last meeting that he will be holding. So I would like to thank Sandy for bringing us through the last 2 years, very different ways of operating. I think he's done a great job, and I know it wasn't easy. So thank you. I also sent out the nominating report and the slate that we would be voting on earlier. But I wanted to also just say a little bit about each one of the people who are up for this. And also, and firstly, I'd like to thank my committee who over the last 9 months has met religiously and worked hard at culling through lots of different names and job descriptions for different positions that we were looking at. The members of the committee are Riva Capillari, Jean Ann Coons, Margie Rich Creek, Dolores Blazer, and Sue Moon. So thank you to all of you who stuck with me in all my reports and documents and meetings. So our 5 individuals that we'll be voting on today is first for our new president, and we have selected to nominate Ann Calvert. Ann was chosen by our committee because of her strong leadership skills and commitment to our league. Ann was raised in a league household, having a mother who was president of the league's chapter in Emporium, Kansas. She has been a member of our league on and off for some time, but steadily since 2016. She has been the secretary of our league for the past 2 years, answering all the questions which have come through our phone, as well as all the other tasks for secretary. She is also the present chair of our DEI committee, and she has started our podcast along with Rachel Thompson. So I'll put in a plug for that as well. She's also a wonderful music teacher who's managed to keep all her students engaged this year while living through the pandemic. And she has a beautiful daughter, 2 dogs, and a partner who supports all of her activities, as well as being a member of our league. So Ann is our selection for president. And I'm assuming that we do this as a group. We vote for this as a group. Am I right? Okay. So Cindy Card is our next nominee, and she's been nominated for secretary of the board. And she's lived in Kansas City since 1985 after spending time in California and Florida. And she joined our league in 2019 and immediately started working with Alice Kitchen on studies, looking to establish our positions. And Cindy also works with our league in the areas of voter registration and protection, learning much from Becky Yaki and her group. She recently retired as a manager of exhibition planning for the Nelson Atkins Museum, is now a volunteer for the museum as well as the league. And she's also worked with the Sewing Lab, helping to make over 70,000 masks during our wonderful COVID time. So she's our selection for secretary. Mary Lindsay is a selection for board member. And I'm sure some of you know her from all her work she did with Amendment 3. And she's now transitioned her energy from that effort to redistricting. She is presently chairs our redistricting committee and is a member of the state redistricting committee as well. She drove our efforts for our Zoom presentation this past Tuesday night. And also she drove our efforts for the redistricting song that was sung on it, which we thought was great. And she's been a member, Mary's been a member of our league since 2013, and she while I'm going to say she's a retired as a social worker, I'm a social worker too. You never retire. So you still have that going for you. Becky Yaki and Stacy Webb are present members of our board whose terms are up for renewal. And Becky, I'm sure everybody knows from all of her from registration, voter registration, and protection efforts. She's been on our board for a number of years, and we look forward to having her work on our board for a number of more years as well. Stacy Webb is also a current member of our board, and she is presently in charge of our Speakers Bureau. And once we are back to normal, she would like to start up her work again on the Voter Girl Scout connection for our league as well. So that's our slate. I think it's definitely going to help our league move forward. And I know Sandy can't stop smiling. So I will ask for somebody to accept our slate. Yeah, Sandy.
It's a formality, but are there any nominations from the floor?
From the board, from the floor, yeah.
Don't be shy. You can nominate yourself if you dare. Okay, hearing none, I'd ask for Rita.
One more thing. The last piece on the nomination that is also included is the nomination for the chairs for the next nominating committee for next year. Next year, they're going to have co-chairs of Riva Capillari and Jean Ann Coons.
Okay. Well,
And I see member Janelle Shu.
Janelle Shuey.
Mhm.
Okay.
I move we accept the nominating committee's report. It's MJ. Is that included now?
Is there a second?
A second,
Mary Kingsley
Yeah.
seconds
Yeah.
that.
Mary.
Shall we see a show of hands? All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. Donna, were you opposing it?
I was getting ready to celebrate.
Oh, I didn't think you were opposing. Very well. Rita and your committee, well done. I'm smiling because these are really, really good candidates and now new committee and officer members. So cheers to you. It will be in great hands with Miss Ann Calvert. I am no doubt of that. Okay, well, let's see here. What's next? Directions to the board from the membership. And maybe Donna or Peg or some old hand at this could say a little bit about that. What does that, should that sound like from the members? Donna?
Well, this is a very important part of our annual meeting. This is where our members, grassroots membership, is able to say, I think we need to continue this effort, or I think we need to really focus a little more here, or have you thought about networking or such, whatever it is that's on their mind. It's like, as we all know, in my directions to the board, I guess, jumping into it, is they're making it so hard to vote. We've got to maybe offer more education to our members about how to be advocates, how to be writing in the letter, or whatever it is. And we also, the get out the vote is going to even be more, we need to strengthen that position, because in 22, it'll be an important election, and people that are registered need to vote. And if these new voting laws go into effect, we'll need to do a lot on education about what the correct ID is to be able to vote. So again, keeping our priority around voting. But there's other things, people, whether it's climate, whatever it is, you speak up. Now's your time to direct the board.
I would like to speak up for a minute. I have an unstable connection, so that's why I don't talk a lot. Sometimes it freezes up, but as long as I'm being heard, I would like to say that I would like for us to be sure to not only be focusing on getting people to vote, but getting voters and citizens to be actively involved with those with whom they elect. I think we really need to stay in touch with our legislators, all of our elected officials, school board members, everybody. And I think our Observer Corps is a great addition, especially as those leaguers are there. I know it goes as an observer, but I think it's very important for us to be identified as a league member observing a school board or a city council or county legislature. But I think also communicating, as Dolores does so well and is such a good mentor to us, communicating with our state legislators, developing those relationships so that we really have showing those who we support their ideas and writing to those who we are concerned about their stance on something. That's as important as getting people to vote. It's getting people to be involved long-term between elections.
Rachel, did you have your hand up?
Not really, but I would just kind of, as Donna and Margie said, I do think that as much focus on advocacy as we can have would be a good thing for us, because that's somewhere where we haven't quite flexed our muscles, I think, as much as we could be, and we have a lot of muscle to flex.
Pat Bartholomew, do you want to say something about the initiative petition issues, and does that feel like a focus area for you?
Yeah, I know Richard Von Glahn with Jobs with Justice sent out an email yesterday. He's kind of kept everybody in the loop, and the bill, House Joint Resolution 20, which is the one that basically is saying that we have to collect 2/3. They've increased the number of signatures that are needed in order to put something on the ballot to 2/3. And just to give you an example of what wouldn't pass if that had been true, is expanding Medicaid passed with 53%, not 66. So that's one damaging issue of this bill. The bill, and then they're also saying that we have to collect signatures in 10 congressional districts instead of 8. And maybe it's 9, I'm not sure. But anyway, but it's all of the congressional districts. So it's clearly meant as a disincentive to the idea of ballot initiatives. Yesterday, this bill was put on the informal calendar. And as I understand informal calendars, by definition, it means that the sponsor of the bill can at any time bring it to the floor for a vote. So we have until next Friday, and there's a feeling that there are people that are, I guess what you'd say on the other side of the aisle that are supporting this, are starting to understand that there are parts of this bill, parts of this law that maybe are going to be problematic for people that also want to use the ballot initiative. So it's, we'll see, but it's definitely something to be aware of. And yeah, I think it's an important part of what the league is trying to do, is that, this is all, it's part of the Constitution. What they're really asking us to do is to repeal language in the Constitution. And it's sort of a mind-blowing to me that it's so easy to change the Constitution of this state. So yeah, I think it's worth keeping on some burner, front, back, or wherever. But yeah, I think the league has a very important part in protecting the citizens' initiative petition right.
Thank you, Pat. Are there, and we're recording these things, so I think these will get summarized into a series of points as part of the minutes. Are there any other positions or studies we should be taking up? Anitra? mute.
Okay, a couple of things. While the people have mentioned contacting your representatives, also contact them when they do something good. You catch more flies with honey. So that if, you know, even if you don't agree with 98% of what they're doing, if they do 2% good, write them a postcard saying, well done, because they don't get that and they remember that. We have a constitutional right in Missouri to vote. So we need to keep reminding the people who want to limit people's access to the vote. They're going against the Missouri Constitution, because in Missouri, you have the constitutional right to vote. And the other thing is the Citizens Initiative. We vote them, they don't fund them, or they don't endorse them, or they change them, or they say we're too stupid to know what we voted for. We need to call them on that.
Yeah.
Which is antithetical to telling them when they did good, but still, it's very frustrating to vote for Medicare coverage and all of those things, and then not have them do it. And all the sneaky way to fund schools, private schools. So vigilance is a key word, but those things. And in these instructions to the board, if there's an area that the league has a position on that you would like us to do just a meeting on, this is the time to mention it to the board, so that when we plan our meetings for the upcoming year, and you're interested in women's rights music and you think it would make a great program, mention it and we might be able to do it. That's all.
Thanks, Anitra. Are there any other directions to the board we would like to raise? Cheryl Barnes.
In light of all of the work we've been doing and following the legislation, it seems like there's the middle of the state that doesn't understand what the majority of the state wants. So I think it's important for us to find ways to reach out to rural areas and influence those individuals or organizations that might agree with us. If we can't put their legislators in training, let's put their voters in training and see what we can do to try to affect change that way.
I agree, Cheryl. I think we need, I mean, if I see what our state legislature has been doing, they basically keep going against the will of the people, the will of the voters. And the only way we're going to make them accountable is to hold them accountable and start educating voters. I think our efforts with the state legislature, while they're, appreciated, and we've done lots of efforts with them, it's kind of like speaking to a brick wall. And I think, we've got a 3-county area that is part of our service area. And I think we need to figure out how to do a better job of educating voters in our 3-county service area, so that they vote and put the right folks in office to begin with, because I think that's the whole problem. I don't see how you solve this without educating voters and changing who's in office.
A number of years ago, Evelyn and I went out to Bates County when we had about three or four ballot issues on the election information. So that if we have statewide ballot issues, that might be an opportunity for us to reach out to more rural counties, because we all would be voting on the same issues. Just a point.
I think there's plenty of opportunity here in Clatt and Clay County, Eastern Jackson County. I don't think we're reaching the voters even in our service area.
I don't disagree with you on that. I think that Cheryl was talking about the fact that in surrounding counties, they are not getting much media information or education. So I agree that our counties are important, but our state has been overwhelmingly conservative and possibly don't have enough information. So anyway, it's my thought.
This
Yeah.
is Cheryl.
Oh, Spencer
As a
had his
member of
hand up,
the
Cheryl.
as a member of the state board, my thing has been developing individual MAUs, member at large. And I've reached out to radio stations and so on of many areas north of the I-70, line. Haven't heard back from a single one because I was wanting to advertise the league. And that tells me it's very conservative. They don't want anything to do with the league or information.
Spencer has a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that is a good idea.
So let him speak about it.
I've done a lot of work on that. As a matter of fact, last October, I interviewed Penny Abernathy, a Knight Professor of Journalism and Mass Communications at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. All right, she's got a report out earlier last year. Newspapers in the United States since 2004 have lost 70%. Of their advertising revenue. They've cut the number of journalists in half. A quarter of them have ceased publications, and the ones that remain are publishing less. The Kansas City Star is no longer printed in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and I'm happy to work with others to put together. I've already got a proposal, a presentation on it that I'm starting to use as a lobbying position, and so forth. And I interviewed Craig Aaron, who's co-CEO of FreePress.net, the leading advocacy organization for improving journalism that I know of in the United States, a week and a half ago. So anyway.
Spencer, I saw what you wrote in chat, but could you restate the proposal or position or effort in a way that this can be recorded so that it sounds like it describes it and proposes an action?
I propose that the league study media reform to improve democracy.
Very good.
So I have a question about that, Spencer, in that the media is funded generally by advertising or subscriptions. What do we do if it's reformed? How do they pay for that so we all are beneficiaries of the news?
So Robert McChesney, my candidate for the #1 scholar of journalism in the United States today, noted that talks about the U.S. Postal Service Act of 1792. Under that act, newspapers were delivered up to 100 miles for a penny when first-class postage was between 6 and 25 cents. It was huge. It was like 0.2% of GDP. And that works out to be, well, 5 years ago when he published a book on this, it was $100 per person, all right, per year. Now it's more like 130 per person per year, all right. Citizen-directed subsidies for journalism. There is something called the New Jersey Civic Information Consortium that was passed with bipartisan support in the Missouri State Legislature, and has funded a $500,000 a year budget. All right, that's peanuts. It's like 6 cents per person or something, but it's a start, right? And by comparison, there's an investigative journalism organization called Amabungani in South Africa. On a budget of $600,000 a year, they uncovered political corruption that forced the president of South Africa to resign. President Zuma gave them a Valentine's present in 2018 by resigning. Okay.
Okay, I see a question here from Laveris. Is there a report of the voting records? Laveris, are you saying for the legislators? Yes? Okay, good. I'm sure there is some way to get the current voting record reports from our legislators. Does anybody have a ready answer on that?
There is, I don't know the answer to that question specifically, but I can find it and send it to Laveris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question about the proposed study. Is this more of a national study versus a local?
I figured
Hey.
out that, so advertising is roughly 2% of GDP. And accounting is also roughly 2% for GDP. And my proposal is to organize people to go to talk to their politicians at all levels, their elected officials at all levels, and ask them to match what they spend on accounting and advertising and media and public relations in some sort of citizen-directed subsidies for journalism. If we got the city of Kansas City or the local school board or even possibly the water district here or Jackson County to do that, we'd have the money similar to what they have in the New Jersey Civic Information Consortium with 20% of the population.
Well, I asked that just because of league structure, if a problem's, national or all over the state or whatever, local.
It's national and international, but I've got a local answer for it.
It sounds to me like we probably ought to curtail this because it's potentially endless. The need is clearly there. I just saw Mary's comments in the chat about, the quality of information depending on where you're driving, and facts and dissemination of disinformation and so forth. It's really we're at a real watershed moment. So I'm not sure. I think defining a study or defining the efforts, especially at a local level, would be the right thing to do. Okay, are there any other new topics that you'd like to bring to the board for consideration? Anybody? I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to move along in the agenda here to announcements and closing remarks. And I guess what I need to start with is a lot of thank yous. Especially to the board for the support, involvement, and the commitment to our goals. This board is evolving in some very good ways, and I'm excited about how it's going to represent the membership at a very high level. So I think the board is really one of the big strengths here. But then, as with a lot of organizations, and especially this one, the committees are doing amazing work, and just gathering the reports and reading them, it's overwhelming. Becky, Simi, and the over 100 members of Voter Services and Get Out the Vote, kudos for the incredible coverage in a once-in-a-lifetime election year. It was amazing. Anitra, you and your forums committee pulled off a really great series of successful forums on Zoom. And these forums, and for those that don't know it, I was on a few of those as a moderator, and we got out and out loud praise from school board candidates saying they were going to these things, 2 and 3 a week, and we had the most professionally run forums that they had encountered. So Anitra, you are representing the league again in a very wonderful way. Pat Goodwin and Peg Prendergast have again anchored the voter guide and Vote 411 teams. Another high profile endeavor of the league, one of our biggest brand boosters, and especially one of the best ways we get voters educated. It's so effective. And the reach into the community with other partners to distribute the printed material, which was 12,000 copies, I believe, this year. Really, we've really gained a lot of support in having people work on our behalf to get this information out. And that's a tribute to this community's work. Pauline Testerman for continuing the great work of the program committee. Every time you have someone that's educational, it's interesting and timely. Now, if we can just get back to live meetings. Led by Mary Herring, the tech committee with Dave, Rita, Cheryl, and others have continued to improve and advance the website and work with social media connections. That committee is tireless in getting the league on a better platform footing for all of our media forums, and especially the website. Wendy Knoll and Judy Ann Goldman on leading social media with Ann and Rachel and Janelle, Katie, Terry, and others. We didn't have a social media presence before. We do now, and it's good. And we have templates, and the graphics are great, and the information is timely. The league's brand is growing in a very good way because of the work you guys are doing. And so highest praise. And not only that, but as been mentioned already by Rita, Ann and Rachel have put together a podcast, and I have no doubt they're going to continue that. Who knew? 2 years ago, who knew we were going to have a podcast? Laura Mountjoy and her committee on the membership side, we've grown enormously. They've had to steward a lot of new members. They've invented a Zoom happy hour with a really lively discussion. It's just another area of big improvement and constant work. So much appreciated. We've talked a little bit about Rita already, and she's demonstrated with her committee an enormous capacity to put the league on solid footing. We've always been on a good footing. I think they've expanded that ability. And so I feel very comfortable about where things sit under their leadership. Rachel Thompson, she may be the Zoom desk person today, but she is this new brand of superhero that we've got running the advocacy committee. And it's a huge one. As she put it, this is a committee that was a little too undeveloped, I think, in the way we expressed it in the committee structure. So with her and Rita and Mary Herring and several others, there was a good effort to help get the committee structure tuned up again and put a lot of focus on our advocacy work. Cheryl Barnes being very key in that area. And so now I think we have more ways of reaching legislators and the public in our advocacy work, and more to be developed there. But I think we have a better structure for that now. And for Alice Kitchen and Cheryl and all the members of the committees who provided excellent studies for our TIF and housing positions and are just completed a study for annual paid leave. Great work. These things are well respected in the community. We've seen them in forums. We've seen them in ordinances developed by the city council. The league's voice is really out there now in these local positions that are looking for social justice and more fair application of city funds. So those things are not just dusty little studies that go in the corner. These things are actually having a real impact on the community through the quality of the work. And I'd like to single out a few people here. Evelyn and Rosemary for helping with a smooth transition and always being available for advice. They made me getting into this position a lot easier. Cheryl Barnes for taking endless calls, emails, texts, to put out fires, to offer sage advice, to advocate for causes near and dear to the league. and always with an amazing sense of humor and good cheer. Thank you. Rita, so much governance and leadership advice and leadership from your wealth of experience and for taking long calls to commiserate. To Jim Calvert for taking on the e-voter and the flood of information from too many sources. You're going to carry a big upgrade to our main member communication that was fostered by Cheryl Barnes. Donna, for the deep knowledge, the wise counsel, and the willingness to do anything at a moment's notice. She is a valuable mentor to new and old members, me included. So I know I've left somebody out here, but thank you very much for the support. And the league is really a total expression of you guys. It's been wonderful. Thank you. And I'm going to move to other items here now. The votercade. I think everybody knows about that. But people can show up at 1. If you get there at 12:30, there's some food. It's the Bruce Watkins Heritage Center. Bike or car, signs, friends. It's going to kick off there at 1 p.m. with a press conference and rally. So meet up there and push for the Lewis HR 4. State convention. Evelyn reminds us that all non-delegates are invited to view the convention proceedings on Saturday, May 15th. And non-delegates can participate in any and all of the caucuses occurring next week. So go to the calendar at the state website, lwvmissouri.org, for direct links and to register. You are required to pre-register to view the convention on Saturday. A reminder that the LWV US President, Dr. Deborah Turner, will speak at 10:30, just about one week and an hour less from now. So make sure you all plan to attend. We'll have 15 delegates voting from Kansas City and our counties. So make a plan to do that. We're ahead of schedule slightly. Anybody up for the song from that Mary put out? Should we do that, Mary? You want to give us a setup for the song? Mary Lindsay, are you there? You just have to unmute and you're live.
Yes. The setup for the song is simply that when I got on the state redistricting committee, I just knew there is a story here. The whole thing of Clean Missouri and how it passed and all, it was a story. But then when on the last day of the legislature a year ago, just about right now, they put through Amendment 3, and then, well, we all know what happened. And I just think it's a huge story. And so it's hard to just tell the story, but I thought that it could perhaps be sung. And I worked on lyrics and that was hopeless. But Judy Ansell, for all of you who know Judy, is a friend of mine. And she said, we'll talk to Bill Claus from KKFI. And some of you may know him too. Anyway, and he worked on lyrics and came up with what I consider unbelievably great lyrics. And then a friend of mine who is a professional singer did singing, and well, now I've probably oversold it and you'll be disappointed, but I will, if you'll bear with me, I will share. Oh, except I have to be allowed to share. Rachel,
you should be.
Oh.
And the thing you want to make sure you can do is, I think there's a setting to allow the audio to play on share.
Is that so? I don't know about that. I mean, I that could totally.
Rachel, do you want to try it?
Give me 2 seconds and I can pull it up.
Okay, I've got to get my things in order. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you all see a different screen?
Yep.
Okay, so
Now, if it's playing and it looks like it is, there's a setting. Oh, here we go.
I don't know about the setting. There. Do you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
They drew the district boundaries in a manner so obscene. People gathered signatures to make Missouri clean. We cast 1 million votes with fair elections as our dream. People power makes us strong. When people power pulls together to create a better world forever, gerrymandered boundaries will sever. People power makes us strong. Jeff City politicians said, oh no, this shall not be. They created a chicanery they call Amendment 3 to negate election ballots of a strong majority. People power makes us strong. When people power pulls together to create a better world forever, gerrymandered boundaries will sever. People power makes us strong. With power we are fighting to protect democracy from redistricting shenanigans, unfair skullduggery. Fair and free elections will depend on you and me. People power makes us strong. When people power pulls together to create a better world forever, gerrymandered boundaries will sever. People power makes us strong. Oh, when people power pulls together to create a better world forever, gerrymandered boundaries will sever. People power makes us strong.
And you can see it's produced by the League of Women Voters of Kansas City. So, but those were the other people who made it happen.
I don't think you oversold it.
Oh, good, good. I mean, aren't the words just amazing? I
The
mean,
words are perfect.
yeah.
That was professional. I really think that needs. And do we have a copyright, by the way? We get royalties.
You know, we don't have a copyright, and actually right away, we did have a problem with YouTube because, you know, last Thursday, a week ago, it ended the state redistricting event. And the next morning when Jean was really eager, she loved it and immediately wanted to do things with it. And so they put it on YouTube, and it had a problem because YouTube said that it was not in the public domain, but that's ridiculous. It is totally in the, but what I think is that YouTube just has a policy that things that are old and are in the public domain, they don't want to have to deal with, because anybody can make a claim. You know, you can sue anybody for anything. And so I think they just have a policy, and I'm hoping when Jean, who is on vacation right now, when she gets back, that we can challenge it, and because otherwise it can't be on YouTube.
Well, maybe a little legal advice around the edges, but I think anything that can make sure we're free of any concerns there, it should get promoted a lot, because I think it's really to the point, and very well written and sung.
I do too. I mean, I'd say thank you, but I really didn't do any of it.
Well, you kind of shepherded things along here, so I don't think you need to back away from that too far.
Okay.
Nothing like a song that can rhyme chicanery.
Boys and skullduggery. I mean, you know, brilliant, brilliant. I thought I think the language is just spot on.
And it would work for any state dealing with this sort of thing, gerrymandering.
Yeah, and you can probably switch out gerrymandering if you need to for something else. So, you know.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Thank you for liking it. And I don't know why I'm frozen, but it doesn't matter.
Well, we're almost to adjournment here. The only other thing I have down as a note is to just remember, and this is sort of relevant to what we just said, promote social media and promote the new podcast and look for new episodes of that. That'll be announced on the website. Drive everybody to the website when you can. It's a great one. It's got all the resources you'd want for information about meetings like this or anything else. So it's terrific. Any other comments of Donna?
Are we having a June meeting or is it just board orientation?
Well, that's been a good discussion, Polly.
I was gonna say we are planning a June meeting to review the legislative actions and what we might do about it. So there is a plan for a June meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Dawn asked about putting the song on the website. Is it there yet? Does anybody know? But yes, it can. Peg's working on it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because currently it's, you know, it's an MP4, but it is big enough that you can't even send it in an email. They convert it into a Google Drive thing, and it's pretty awkward. So having a link would be perfect.
Does anyone else have business to conduct or comments to make or anything else? Well,
thank you, Sandy, so much for your leadership for the past 2 years.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
It's a pleasure to work with you guys. I'm not going anywhere, but I might not be doing as much. So anyway, thank you all very much.
Stay on the program committee.
Does our new president have a parting word she wants to say, or?
I wish me luck.
You'll do great.
And you and I need to get together, and I'll tell you what, you know, you already know this stuff, but I'll hand you a boatload of files.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.